Welcome to the first Just Candid interview of 2020. With greetings of the new year, we have with us today at Chitkara University Mr. Pete Draper, who does not need much of introduction, an ace VFX artist, a person who has dabbled in the early days of his career in the world of filmmaking, behind the scenes, special effects, visual effects, both in Bollywood and Hollywood. Where Hyderabad is in India is home for him now, and with movies like Bahubali 1, 2, Gajani, Kala from the south, and a lot more to his credit. Welcome, Pete.
Thank you.
It is an honor to have you at Chitkara University.
Honor is mine. Thank you very much.
Well, how was the shift from, coming from born and brought up in Britain and then coming to India in 2010, setting up your company Makuta, and becoming a full-fledged entrepreneur? So, how was the shift?
It was originally it was actually just going to be a very kind of small few little visits. When I first came here originally, it was just coming here as a contractor, as a freelancer, just to work on a film called Magadira, which is my first one I did here, but my second Indian film, with Gajani being the first. I didn't think anything else would actually come of this. So I finished my tenureship, if you like, in 2009, and then left and thought, that's it, done. I've done my stint.
Did the assignment.
That's it. I've ticked that box off. Okay. That's it. I'm done. And myself and two other guys, one guy from Chennai, one guy from Iran, actually, who both became business partners, decided, okay, we'll work well together, let's form a studio. And the original idea was that we were going to just be, in essence, being consultants, getting projects, going into studios and taking those projects into studios and using their core workforce, etc., to manage and maintain them. But that didn't work, it failed. And the reason why it failed is because the majority of studios were doing a catch and release at that time. They were bringing in talent, working the project, and then the accountants would let them all go at the end because they were too expensive.
Okay.
So there was no way for us to do what we wanted to do, which was to try and raise the game of local cinema, national cinema, with regards to visual effects work through, better working practices and primarily retention of talent, and getting the ability for that talent to sit within a space and have the ability to grow and develop.
And also have the ability of stability.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, even then, still nowadays in overseas in US and UK and so on, that stability is not there in any way. Everybody acts.
What do you think is one big reason for this?
Tax credits, nomadic. It's a nomadic attitude of productions. They shift from location to location. Previously, before these entire tax credits things, which came into effect in like 2008, 2007, 2008. Even then, still artists would still shift around because a studio would work for a project, and then the project would be done. Those artists would be it wouldn't be a case that they'd be laid off.
And then
it'd be like, we're not extending your contract. Right. Simple as that. So they would then go to another studio.
There's a lot of hop
that kind of thing.
And hop
there was
a lot.
And now there is still, if not more so, and that emphasis is now more on geography, which is now stretched. Previously, this sort of thing used to be just like within, mainland LA, for example. They go from that studio to that studio to that, and they'd be within like a 20-mile radius or something like that. Now they're having to go to Canada, or they're having to go to Louisiana, or they're having to shift to London or to Australia or something like that. So that nomadic lifestyle is a lot bigger now.
And it still exists.
It still exists, even more so now than what it was.
Okay.
But now what we wanted to do with regards to the company was to try and retain and focus on a specific sector, and not have to, have these guys shift around so much and have some stability in their lives.
And the attrition rate goes down, and because of the culture you
Yes,
must have set.
that's
you
true.
know, and
I mean,
set some bars and standards.
That was one of the intentions
Right,
of trying to give some stability to their lives, to our lives, and so that the way that the industry works there is that you've got either a long period of ramp-up time between when a project is greenlit. So you maybe got like 6 months or a year of pre-production. So your primary finance or your primary load of work is not going to come in for maybe around 12 months. That's a long period of time to wait. Or you actually end up with a studio production company going, we've just shot a ton of stuff. There you go.
Yeah.
And immediately you have to start work.
Yeah.
Or immediately you have to like have artists available. So it's that or it's that. There's never really a mid-ground. It's like never really, okay, we're ramping up, there's 2-3 months ramp up. It's all of a sudden, it's either all of a sudden or it's a long bloody time.
The economics have to work. And the time has to be also kept in consideration.
Right.
So when did you think that you packed your boots from England? And
I never did. That's the thing. Initially, I never did. It was a case of when we founded. The idea was that okay, I'd spend maybe a month here, 2 months there, 2 months here, 1 month there, and that kind of idea. Because I mean, to be frank, when I came here the first time, I got homesick like I'd never been before in my life, and I moved out of home at 18. I left home at 18 to go to university. I shifted into various different areas of the country to a point where I was like 4 hours, 5 hours drive away from family, but I was still within comfort zone.
You missed the home.
It just suddenly hit me when I landed here the first time, so I didn't want to go through that again. So the idea was I was only going to spend like a small amount of time here and then go back. Right. But it wasn't until we got to the production on Eager, Maki, that I actually ended up spending 10 months here solid. And then went back for a month or so.
So India did welcome you?
It did, yeah.
India,
I mean,
Britain cultures or families cultures are almost similar.
That's true.
Right.
I mean, it was a case of, just as an idea now, just an example now, sorry. The last time I went home was 2015. The word Brexit didn't exist the last time I went home. Okay. So it was 2015 summer in the UK, which is like about July time. And the only reason I went back was obviously friends and family, but to renew my visa.
I was about to ask. So this could be one of the reasons.
That was the passport. Passport was the year before.
So the other question is that was employability and I would say better economics works with talent from India was one of the reasons. Little cheaper talent.
I wouldn't say
so.
Or
more talented talent.
It was more of a challenge here to actually find talent.
Oh.
There was a lot more of a challenge. The reason being is because there's more volume. There's a lot more volume, a lot more people applying. So it's trying to find that gem.
And it's a very specialized field.
Yes, but also when people are applying, they are kind of specific to a degree. I do get very generic requests, like "Sir, give job," which is like, okay, what do you want? do you want to be a runner? Do you want to do a roto work? Do you want to be a VFX supervisor? What is it? Be specific. But actually trying to find those individuals who stand out, those people who are troublemakers, because we like those, because we are the same, as opposed to those individuals who are just going to come for salary. And being able to vet that is one of the toughest things that we have, because the problem that we encountered here is that a lot of places that were actually doing a lot of students who were actually doing courses were doing courses which were vocational.
Right.
And as a result, they didn't need any prerequisite, they didn't need any qualification in anything creative.
And there's just exposure.
And it wasn't a case of exposure, it was more along the lines of they didn't have an artistic gene in them in any way. And that's essential. It's not just important, it's essential.
That's the essence.
Because that person will then just come in and they'll stay at the same level. Right. And they won't develop exponentially like somebody who has got a creative gene in them, who has an interest in art in some form,
Right.
photography, fine art, sculpture, you know, filmmaking, photography,
sketching,
whatever, anything
anything
at all.
Has
It's just
that basic
understanding the concept of composition, for example.
composition and
So in essence,
creation.
I was getting initially when we were first advertising, I was getting people who were failed MBA students, and they've been told, you know, you guys go do this because you can get salary and you can get a position. But okay, great. You'll do the task repetitively, but I'll have to hold your hand every single shot.
Yeah, got to mentor them.
No, you have to hold hand.
Yeah.
It's not a case of mentoring. Mentoring is basically once they understand it, they'll be able to take that information and be able to juxtapose it to any particular circumstance that is similar to it, as opposed to actually what we were having to do, which is hold hands for every single shot. It's like, dude, you did this before, just use that same knowledge on this situation as opposed to that one.
This is the application.
And we struggled with that. So we had an initial quick turnaround till we refined the recruitment process.
So how big is your team, Pete?
Around about 70.
70 in Hyderabad?
In Hyderabad itself. So we go as low as 60, we go up to about 120, depending on the project. And people come and go.
They're all from India?
99.9%, yeah. Yeah, there's
the rest of the 0.1% is you?
Me, one of our line producers, and one of our co-founders. So the Iranian guy,
the
Adil.
leadership team.
Yeah.
So how did this name Makuta came in?
It was actually given to us, I think it was a typo. It wasn't. It's supposed to be M-U-K-U-T-A.
It's Mukta.
Mukta, like Jewel and the Crown.
Subhash guy.
Exactly.
Films,
so this was actually given to us by one of our investors, Raja Kaduri, who now he's like head of the graphics division at Intel. He's actually Rajamouli's cousin, and it was his idea to call it that. I was like, oh, okay, what does it mean? Sounds nice. What does it mean? But he spelled it M-A-K-U-T-A. Not M-U-K-U-T-A.
Yeah.
So
sometimes, you know, accidents, and it's a very, I would say, infectious name because it's different.
It's actually, I found out afterwards, it's actually the name of some bionicle manga coming out of Japan. So, and it's also an old currency coming out of mainland Africa.
Oh, okay.
It used to be a unit of currency.
Okay, so there is some base.
Yeah, there is some history to it. But
yeah.
it was like we were told, no, this is what it's like. So I was
How was it working with Pete, with Amir Khan? Did you meet him? Because your role is more post-production.
Mine was post-production for that.
But didn't he come to, you know, come
no,
and intervene?
at that particular point in time, I was in the UK. I'd not been to India at that particular point in time.
It all happened there.
That happened totally remotely. So he gave some input to it, some creative comments and that kind of thing.
You enjoyed doing it?
I mean, when I first did it, the first version I did for Gajini for the titles, I totally got it wrong. Totally got it wrong. I had to end up redoing the entire thing.
Okay.
So there was one style that I did, and one portion of it was interesting. The rest of it was dull. Looking at it again, it was dull. Totally boring. So because they'd actually made the film in Tamil initially with Surya, I got to know this 3 weeks into actually building the thing. So I'd already built the first version, sent this across to them, and they went, no, just give us a better version of the Tamil one. There's a Tamil one?
Yeah.
Send that, dude. Seriously, what? So I got that. I went, right, okay, that's the style. Right, let's do this. And then I banged it out in 2 weeks. So yeah, that was, and I got a couple of comments to tweak, and that was it. But yeah, it was quite straightforward.
Good. So coming back to this last few questions is about how students at our university, like, or any student, but our students of the, from the film production, stream, or front and behind the camera, and editors, careers in editing, VFX and all. How do students, do they miss the bus? Like, as you mentioned, they do vocational courses and they don't fit the bill. So what sort of education they should be aligned with to come in at a level where you are at?
To be frank, I have no formal training in this whatsoever.
So it is more passion?
Nothing. Passion is one thing. Definitely an interest in trying to excel oneself and to try and self-develop. I mean, with all due respect to anybody who's taken the course, if I had two people who had the same show reel and one took twice as long to get to that stage, but that person developed themselves and weren't spoon-fed or handheld or anything like that by a course or anything, I would take the first person. I would take the guy who's developed himself every time, and the reason for that is because I know for a fact that that person has worked hard themselves to get to that stage. My view on any course, now I went to university for 4 years. I did all this kind of stuff. I didn't do what I do now. I did engineering IT, of all things. But I had an interest in art, I had an interest in computer science, I had an interest in CG from a personal interest.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And
So
everybody my age and my peers, they're all in the same boat. None of them took a course. We all taught ourselves because there weren't any then. They simply weren't any. Or if there were, they were like
very
ridiculous. Or the people who were teaching, they knew as much as the students. So we're all kind of in the same boat. So
it's more
my view of any course, no matter what it is, whether or not it's a media related one, or it's an art related one, or it's a computer science one,
or filmmaking, whatever.
You treat your course like your driving test.
Right.
You know the bare basics not to die. You know the bare basics not to die on the road.
Right.
Everything else is experience.
Right.
Everything else is through exposure and mistakes and
So you got to
and practice and repetition and understanding how things work
and
observation.
I think that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
So
for any field.
As far as media is concerned, and editorial and sound design, etc. Again, it is like any craft, like any art form. I can teach someone to paint in 10 seconds. It's easy. Okay, this is how you become an artist. You become a painter. Okay, right. Brush, paint, easel, canvas. Put brush onto paint, put paint onto easel, put on canvas. Artist. Done. That's it.
Brilliant.
Give me the Mona Lisa.
Yes.
What's the difference? The difference between just doing that and painting the Mona Lisa, okay, you're not going to take 4 years, but it's just practice. Reapplying that application and understanding how tone and form works. The only difference is actually just practice.
So that's the message I think we get.
Precisely.
That practice in classroom.
There's a phrase, practice makes perfect.
Hands-on experience, exposure is what makes a well-fitting individual into a creative organization or a production house.
If you're going to sit, if you go right, you go into your job and you just go right, I'm done. I've got my job. I don't need to practice anymore. You're wrong, and you'll literally just sit there and stagnate for the next 40 years, and then you'll just
and the body gives up.
Pretty much, yeah.
So are these jobs for students? You're pretty fit.
I'm really not.
Touch wood.
I'm really not.
Touch wood. So are well-paid jobs for students as a career?
Can be. But again, it depends on.
You mentioned the prerequisites.
Again, anyone who says, right, you must have specific qualification to get a job. I mean, we have a prerequisite on our website of like okay, right, you have this much of further education. Well, not necessarily experience, but more further educational experience is one thing, but more along the lines of that's basically just trying to make sure that we're doing a filter. Industry experience or personal experience. I know 15-year-olds who can model heads like they've been doing it for 30 years. They're like better than some of the seasoned professionals.
So do you feel some things are very gifted?
Yes, without a doubt. You always get them. But it's those individuals who they'll be snapped up in a heartbeat. Yeah. And it's those people you can tell when they have an interest in something because they climb the bell curve exponentially compared to everybody else who's just trundling along at a linear progression. You can always tell those people who are like really putting the effort in and trying to push themselves and everybody else around them. And that's something that we tried to do when we founded, which was try to influence not only the people that we hired, but those studios around us, our peers. So if we did well, they do better. If they did better, that will challenge us
to do better.
Much better. And so that was the idea.
Yeah. So I think that idea is creating and building a bigger ecosystem, and
that was
contributing as a sort of a guide and an inspiration. I think we'll take the last question as a message, because when it's 10 minutes to the interview, it gets more exciting. But what happens is then the time comes as a challenge, but it's a personal honor to have met you and chatted with you, in a very candid way. Right. And may I have one of your message for our students for this as a career, a short message into the camera?
Right? Yes. Okay, so this is a message to the students here at Jakarta. Don't sit still. It's not a case of like you're going to stagnate, but you need to really continuously develop. Treat whatever you're learning, whatever you're being taught, as, like I said before, as your driving test. You are learning and constantly develop. You don't learn to ride a bike and then stay the same way and not anticipate anything. You're constantly developing, and throughout life and throughout your careers, you will hit hurdles. You will get to points where you actually think that I'm not progressing, I'm not getting any further, I'm not getting any better, I'm bad, I'm shit, I can't progress. That's not true. What the truth is that your ability to self-assess has actually got better. So you're assessing your own stuff, and you're assessing stuff that you've done in the past, your legacy work, and you're looking at that and you're thinking that it's not very good. And you're looking at somebody else's and you're thinking it's awesome. Maybe it's somebody who's in your class, maybe it's somebody who is a little bit further ahead than you, or like in an advanced year, or a professional. We go through it all the time, and as professionals, we go through it all the time. We see some students work and it's, wow, my God, that is astounding. And you learn and understand who did it and why they did it, and how they progressed and how it was developed, and understand how things work. Observe the natural world. Treat CG just like any other medium. How would you recreate that? There's no make nice image button, there's no get out of jail fix. It is understanding how the artistry works, how the natural world works, and how many errors there are and how many faults there are. You can spend 10 minutes building something perfect and then spend 2 months making it imperfect. And that is, humans are not used to perfection. We're not built that way. We are imperfect ourselves. I mean, hair loss, come on, fat, overweight, borderline diabetic. Anyway, moving on. But you've got to try and understand how everything works, and to try and push the envelope yourself, challenge yourself and challenge those around you. From that, you'll progress. From that progression, money will come, career prosperity will come, no problem. But do it because you enjoy it, because at the end of the day, it's hard.
Perfect. So, creativity is a gift from the Lord, and friends and geniuses like Pete hone the skills of young individuals, give them direction, and help them find their inner path and also their mission in life, and so that they make great careers and remain human, but also gain prosperity in life. With that note, we thank Pete from Jakarta University. It's an honor for all of us that you visited us, gave us your very precious time.
Thank you very
Look
much.
forward to see you here again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.